I want to leave my girlfriend of 3 years after she was assaulted. It hurt me to see that she didn't even try to acknowledge my presence. Okay, again I get it. Major trauma. I'm sure they have been coached by her therapist or something in what to say and do around her, so I play along. I walk in and she is sitting on a chair with her dad standing next to her and her sister sitting on the couch. As I walk in the room, her sister starts talking and telling me that my girlfriend wants me to know that she is okay, but obviously, she has been traumatized and appreciates my understanding in her recovery. She never said one single word to me and barely looked at me. Again, this was right after the event, and I'm understanding that this is how it has to be. But honest to God, that entire conversation was just awkward as hell. I leave, go home, and attempt to focus on how I can help her. I start Googling how to deal with a rope survivor and what I can expect. She starts going to therapy initially 2 times a week, then after 2 months it goes down to 1 day a week. In the meantime, she finally makes contact with me and asks to meet at a coffee shop. I get there and she is already there and waiting. At this point in time, they had her so medicated that I was dealing with a zombie for the most part. There was no emotion, and she was very methodical in her speech. Basically, she wanted to get together that day to tell me that she couldn't go out with me for a while until she got past some issues she was dealing with. Of course, I told her I understood. This was almost a month after the attack, and this was our first conversation by ourselves, so I was already living under this assumption. I told her I would be there for her, and that whatever she needed, whether that be space or a shoulder to cry on or anything, I was there for her. I started to tell her that I loved her, and she stopped me. She told me that right now she didn't want to hear that, and that I had to respect her wishes. I was once again a little hurt, and frankly surprised, but I said whatever she wanted. She started texting me the next day. Little things. Nothing important, but I think it is a big step in getting back to where we were. This goes on for another month and a half. I finally asked her at the month-and-a-half mark if we could meet for dinner. She didn't reply for 2 days and then said that she had to wait for it to talk to her therapist. Finally, she agrees to this but sets the date for another month away. Now, mind you, this is almost 4 months after the attack, and so far, I've had 1 physical conversation with her in person and 1 bizarre conversation with her and her family. Oh yeah, I need to mention this. I am not being updated on her progress by anyone. Granted, I realize that I am not officially family, nor am I entitled to do anything, but it would have been nice to just get a text or call or something from someone telling me that she was doing good in therapy or was not, or anything. We went out to eat at a small bistro that we ate at all of the time. I met her there, and I was waiting for her to show up. After sitting for a half-hour waiting, I texted to see what was up. I just got a text of "on my way." She finally arrives and sits down. I asked her how she had been, and she snapped at me and told me not to ask her personal questions. We ate, and after dinner I wanted to just sit and talk because I missed the person I had talked to almost every day for the previous 3 years. But when she was done eating, she said that she was ready to go home. I asked her if she could stay for just a few minutes to talk, but I could see that she was becoming physically anxious, and I did not want to upset her, so I said that I loved her and missed her. She just walked away. She goes back to texting me the next day like nothing had been wrong. We actually start to see each other once a week for lunch, and she is getting more and more comfortable with being out, so she sits and talks a while. She has also started a new job which she tells me about. This goes on for another 4 months. I'm happy to see her, and all but honestly, I'm very lonely, and we have not even so much as held hands. Then one day she doesn't show up for lunch. I text to see if she is okay. No reply. I call her parents to see if they know where she is and to make sure she is okay. I got the runaround from them, and by this time I was starting to get upset because I didn't want to know where she was at or anything. I just wanted to know if she was okay. After actually saying that her mom says, yes, she is okay, but don't expect to hear from her for a while. Well, that makes me start to think she has had a relapse and is in the hospital, but what can I do? All I do is go home and try and take my mind off of it. 2 weeks pass with nothing from anybody. I'm trying my best to be reasonable here, but basically I call her sister and ask if she is still alive or what. She knew I was getting frustrated, so she apologizes, but that her sister told them to specifically not let me talk to her. At this point, I break down. I don't know what I've done wrong here. I have not pushed her. I have not tried to get her to be with me in any way other than to just talk to me. And even then, I have had very generic conversations so as not to upset her. I then got a text from her, asking if I would meet with her at an address I wasn't familiar with, but once I looked it up, I determined this was a therapist's office. I was told to be there at 4, which meant I had to leave work early to get there. I check in at the front desk and am told that the therapist wants to speak to me alone for a few minutes. She comes in, and I now know where the parents were getting this from because after formally greeting me, she then started to provide me with a list of do's and don'ts. She then told me that my girlfriend wanted to speak to me and had something to tell me. I go in, and she is sitting on one chair, and I am instructed to sit in the other. She has a box of tissues and has been crying. The therapist tells me that I am here because my girlfriend has something to tell me and that she wanted the safety of the therapist office to feel safe. She then proceeds to tell me that the reason she did not meet me for lunch that day is because she was with another guy, somebody from her new job, and that they had been intimate with each other. She might as well have taken a gun out and shot me. It couldn't have hurt anymore. I just drop my head and begin to cry. The therapist then pipes in with some logic about her taking back her sexuality since she was attacked, and how this wasn't cheating in the same sense as cheating. My girlfriend then proceeds to tell me that she does not want to lose me, and that she is just very screwed up in the head, and that it was a one-time thing, and blah, blah, blah. I felt very trapped at that moment. I felt like I was ganged up on, and the longer I sat, the madder I got. I finally just said to her, "You haven't so much as held my hand in the past half-year, yet you can go screw some guy you met at work while I sit like an idiot waiting for my junior high-like date." This, of course, caused her to go into hysterics, and the therapist asked me to leave. I apologized and told her to text me if she wanted to keep working this out. I get that text later that day. Now she is all chatty, telling me that this was the worst mistake of her life, and please talk to her. I tell her that I don't know if I can go on with this, but agree to meet her. I flat out tell her right up front when I see her that for me to even consider going forward with this, that she has to cut this other guy off, period. She tells me that is impossible because they work together, and I tell her that I'm sorry, but I won't even consider it if she is going to see this guy every day. She decides to find another job, and after talking with my sister, who I have told everything, she said that while it is not common, some women do attempt to have sex after being attacked, so that they feel like they have power again. I have no idea why I am not the one she did this with, but I know I feel like I am being punished for something I did not even do. She changes jobs and we go back to our lunches, and I do this twice when I tell her that I am getting a little tired of just meeting for lunch and doing nothing else, so she agrees to come over to watch TV with me. That has been it up until tonight. Tonight she came over and we watched 2 movies and ate pizza. During the second movie, I tried to give her a kiss. Nothing more, just a damn kiss. She backs away as though I was a cross and she was a vampire and tells me she is not ready for that yet. Okay, not my finest moment here, I admit, but I tell her that it's been a whole year and a month, and I have not tried one damn thing with her, or forced her into anything, and yet she willingly screwed some other guy months ago, but here I am still waiting to hold hands. She of course starts crying, but this time I'm not as fast to apologize. I do apologize for the tone of my voice and tell her that I would never try and force her to do anything against her will. But honestly, I feel like I have been kept on the outside. I've been cheated on. I don't care what they call it. She willingly had unprotected sex with someone else. And I feel like I have done everything to try and be a supportive boyfriend. I tell her that honestly, I don't want her to text me until I decide what I'm going to do. I don't want to be unfair to her, but by the same token, a year is a long time, and we are really no closer to being back to normal than we were 6 months ago, and I have no idea how long this will go on. Now here's the part where if you didn't think I was a jerk before, you will now. I am just tired of not having sex. Look, I certainly understood not trying anything right afterward and even months afterwards. But it's been over a year, and we're not even holding hands. And frankly, the fact that she has been with someone else since this incident is killing me inside. So I told her that I am going to think things through and promise to talk with her next week sometime. But as it stands tonight, I think I'm done. I love her. I hate the lowlife who ruined both of our lives. I know this isn't her fault, and I hate that I feel like crap no matter what I do. If I stay, I am going to be resentful, and even if she comes over tomorrow and has sex with me, it will feel like either pity sex or desperation sex. But I know ending this will be punishing her for something that isn't her fault either. My girlfriend is, or was, my best friend. I confided in her for everything. I have some work associates that I am friendly with, but I am hundreds of miles from where I grew up, and all of my friends are there and either are married or very career-driven. So I don't have what you would call a real support network. My sister has been there for me to a point, but there is a real complication to that even. My girlfriend and my sister are best friends. In fact, it's how I met my girlfriend. So while my sister loves me and wants what's best for me, she is also very sympathetic to her friend and doesn't want me to do anything to hurt either of us. She does not support her in the cheating, but has tried to basically smooth that over. She does not know, though, that me and my girlfriend have not been together sexually since the assault. Honestly, that is none of her business, and I think she would be really disgusted with me if I let her think that this even had anything to do with it. My girlfriend has been blowing up my phone with texts since Sunday night. She's saying everything that I have wanted her to say since about a month after the assault. I've gotten more I love yous in the past day than I have in the past year. I've only responded twice to her, so she does know I'm reading them. That is making the next part very hard to do. I came to the decision last night that for my own mental well-being, I can't do this anymore. Believe me when I say that I know what a failure it is and how horrible it makes me feel. So here is my plan. I know it is really short and cowardly on my part, but I have typed a letter, and I'm going to send it to her therapist, along with a note to the therapist explaining what to do, for my girlfriend to read in her office. That way there is immediate support for her. I don't want her to be any more abandoned than what I am going to be doing. That is heartbreaking to type, by the way. When she goes for her appointment Friday morning, I will then send emails to her parents and a text to her sister, informing them of what is happening, so that way they can be there for her when she gets out. Here is word for word the letter I have written her. The only thing that is different is that I am not using her or her therapist's real names here. Please read it and let me know if I am out of line or if I am too cruel or if this will trigger any type of mental trauma related to her assault. I have zero intention of inflicting any more pain than what is normal with a breakup. Here it goes. Dear Sarah, I know that this is not the best way of doing this, but honestly, if I had to look you in the eyes, I know I could not go through with this. I have loved you since the first month we have been together, and the first 3 years of our relationship were the best 3 years of my life. You were my everything, and I know that we had both talked about marriage a lot, and I know and believe with all of my heart that we were going to be married. Nothing would have made me any more happy or proud than to be called your husband. I don't know how to say this because every fiber of my being does not want to say this, but for my own mental health going forward, I have to let you go. Believe me when I say that decision did not come easily to me, nor can I say that it is not heartbreaking on my end. I have always and still love you, but I can't be with you anymore. You need to heal, and you need to be able to 100% focus on you while you are healing, and having to worry about me and my feelings is only getting in the way of your healing. I will always hate the bastard who did this to you. He has ruined so many lives that life in prison seems a lot more appropriate than what he got, but I don't get to make that call. I know holding on to hate is not healthy, but he has ruined my life as well as yours. I know you are going to hate me for this. I don't blame you at all. I know that you feel abandoned, but please understand I have done everything in my power to be there for you. I wanted to be more involved in your healing, but for whatever reason I was somewhat excluded from being a significant part of your inner circle. This has left me feeling very lonely and alienated from you and your family. I wanted nothing but the best for you, and wanted to be there for you, and I hope I was whenever you would let me. I won't lie. You seeking comfort in the arms of another while still to this day denying me any affection has weighed very heavily on me. I did then, and I do now forgive you, but forgiving does not take away the soul-crushing pain that comes along with that. I understand to a point why you might have done it. I don't agree with it, and I never will, but I maybe see why. However, that has nothing to do with the fact that we are 1 year and a month past your incident, and you still treat me as though I did something wrong or will do something wrong to you. When you withdrew the other night from my attempt at a kiss, I knew then that you were still in need of healing, and I have no idea how long that will be. But I can't put my life on hold indefinitely, which is where we are still. I know it is very selfish of me, but I need affection. I need both mental and physical intimacy. Our conversations have been both generic and bland for the past year, which believe me I can understand why. But we used to spend hours talking about our future and what we wanted. Now at best we talk about what movies we want to watch. What I am doing is in no way because of what happened to you. That event was horrible and was life-changing for you, and I never ever had a second thought about you because of it. This is all about your recovery and how you have to heal. For whatever reason, reasons you may not even know yourself, you have completely distanced yourself from me. I've tried with all of my heart to get back to you, but it is painfully apparent that I am no closer to you now than I was right after the incident. Also, to be very clear, so you do not think this is about anything else. Thee is no one else. I am not seeing anyone. I don't have eyes for anyone, nor do I think any time soon I will. I am not now, nor have I ever cheated on you. I hope with all of my heart for you to be fully healed soon. I want you to be happy. I hope someday you can look back on our time together with fondness and find it in your heart to forgive me. I will always love you. This breaks my heart more than you will ever know. Love, Chad. In the month that went by, I tweaked this letter with some people who have heard my story with a better format, and I did edit out the part that the assaulter ruined her because I agreed that this was not an appropriate thing to say. In fact, I almost edited him out altogether, other than saying I wish he had gotten a longer sentence. However, I did leave in the part about being her husband. I know a lot of people wanted me to take that out, but I just felt deeply that I had to say that. I can't really explain why. Of course, my intention originally was to mail it to her therapist office with instructions for what to say, but I knew there was zero chance that she would get it in time, so I was going to take it to her and see if I could speak with her. Notice how that was all in the past tense, as in what I was going to do? Well, I never got the chance. On Wednesday late at night, I have a knock on my door. Lo and behold, it is her sister and my sister together. I'm going to call Sarah's sister Susan from now on. Susan was holding papers in her hands, and my sister walks in, and Susan R. walks in with her. Obviously, something is up. So I ask what's wrong, and Susan hands me a printout of my story, and she simply asks, "Is this you?" At first, I tried to deny it. I couldn't really remember everything I had written in particular, so I was kind of trying to avoid any problems if I said something I shouldn't have. But my sister just straight up got in my face and told me to stop freaking lying, which by then I was caught. I knew it, and she knew it. I just dropped my head. This then led to a very long conversation that lasted till the next morning. At first, Susan was very emotional because of course she loves her sister, and was crying, asking me how I could want to do this to her. Much to my surprise, though, my sister stood up for me here and actually kind of ripped Susan a new one. She said that I had gone way beyond what most people had, and that Sarah should not be withholding affection from me after a whole year. She had no idea that we still weren't physically as close as we once were. Like I said, I never told her. Once my sister got done talking, Susan said that in reality, she knew that she was right. She begged me to not go through with my letter. She said that I had promised to give Sarah a week, which I had. She then gave a very passionate speech about how much she can tell I still love her and how much she knows she still loves me. My sister also agreed that there was too much love present in my heart to just do this right away. She said, "And it made sense at the time. What is another week compared to what you have been through?" So, long story short, I agreed not to take the letter over. Whether it was guilt, regret, or love, I can't say, but I agreed to it. This then led to the single most embarrassing thing in my life happening. Susan gave me a very big hug and cried as they were leaving. It's been a very long time since I've had any type of close contact, and let's just say it's not a lot of fun being called a disgusting pig by your sister. All I could do was say how very sorry and how embarrassed I was. Fortunately, Susan seemed to take it in stride. She just wanted to make sure that I would talk with Sarah the next day. Even though I was a virtual zombie from lack of sleep, I went ahead and went to work. I have lots of paid time off available to me, but I didn't want to burn it all up over this in case I needed time later. I got home from work, and my intention was to go straight to bed after eating dinner and maybe watching some TV. That plan went to hell in a hurry as I was eating my dinner when someone started knocking on my door again. This time was Susan and Sarah. This time, Sarah is holding the printout. You can tell they both had been crying, and Susan asked if they could come in. I just shook my head yes because I was honestly a little nervous, and no matter what she has done or not done, seeing Sarah emotional always upsets me, and she physically looked horrible. I mean as bad as she did after the assault. They sat on the couch, and Sarah already has tears streaming down her face. We all kind of just sat there for what seemed like an eternity just looking at each other. I wasn't going to speak first. I had no idea what to say or do, so I just sat there. Eventually, I broke through and asked Sarah if she wanted some water or something to drink. She actually said yes, so I got up and went to the kitchen to get her a glass of ice water, and when I turned around, she was standing right behind me. All she said to me was, "Are you really going to leave me?" I couldn't answer. I just looked into her eyes and felt broken and ashamed. We went and sat down, but this time she sat next to me. She started to read my story to me, but could not make it through it. Susan jumps in at this point and says they had spent the day talking and they had gone over the story and said that Sarah was very sorry for how she treated me. She said that they have spoken to their parents and everybody agrees that the way I was treated was not fair. Seeing it in writing really struck a nerve with all of them because they could see how hurt I was and that even though I could have blamed all of them, I didn't. Sarah is shaking her head, yes, the entire time. Sarah then managed to talk and just laid out how she obviously did not give me enough consideration and that she now sees that what she did was horrible to me when I have been nothing but compassionate and loving towards her. She begged me for another chance. She said that sometimes in life you need a wake-up call to get moving, and she said me wanting to break up with her was her wake-up call. She can't and won't take me for granted, and said she had a year's worth of apologizing to do to me. Susan actually very calmly said that they had spoken at length in the afternoon about her infidelity, and then not even touching me. Sarah then replied that she had no real excuses. She knows that what she did was horrible, and that she had no right to ask me for forgiveness, but was going to anyway. She also said that she is making it the top priority of her life that she talk with her therapist to get past any physical limitations she has with me. This went on for a long time, by the way. The one thing, though, that I want to say is that while she was talking to me, she was holding my hand. She reached out and took it. Now I realize that she read my story, and I made a big deal about that in it. But whether she did it because she read it or just did it on her own, she used to do that all the time. I won't deny that it felt really good. They ended up staying the night. No, before you get any crazy ideas, nothing happened between any of us. Susan slept on the futon and Sarah on the couch, and I actually went to my bed. I called in early Thursday morning to work before I went to bed, as I knew that I would not be able to function on so little sleep. I get awoken around 10 by Sarah sitting next to me in the bed, rubbing her hands on my arm to wake me up. She said that they were getting ready to leave because she had moved up her therapy session to 11, and she didn't want to leave without her telling me how much she loved me, and to let me know she was coming right back after the session. She leaned over and kissed me. It wasn't a long, passionate kiss. In fact, it was just kind of a quick kiss, but right on the lips. This was a mistake, I'm sure, because that broke my resolve right there. Up until that point, I was still holding on to the thought that this was all just words, and that it took me threatening to leave her to get her to even pay attention to me. I found myself grappling with the thought that if she only came around because of the threat of me leaving, then her recovery wasn't solely due to her emotional trauma. I reasoned that if it were solely due to trauma, my threat to leave wouldn't have made a difference. However, with pressure from my sisters Susan and Sarah, all the walls I had built to shield myself were crumbling. That kiss was the final blow that tore them all down. I went back to sleep, and around 1, and she showed back up at my place carrying lunch. Susan was not in town, so it was just going to be the two of us. We ended up spending the afternoon together. We ended up spending the weekend together. Yes, you can infer from that what occurred between us. I'll just say that I was probably more scared about it than she was. I was worried about triggering anything or saying or doing anything that would upset her. She, on the other hand, was very loving and emotional about it. She cried afterwards for a good long while, which caused me to freak, but she said it was a combination of joy and regret, that she had forgotten how love felt, and it just kind of overwhelmed her. We laid there for hours. She had a recommendation from her therapist for a couples counselor who we are going to start seeing next week. I know this isn't what a lot of people wanted to read, and all I can say is that I'm sorry to disappoint you. And yes, I am prepared for the plethora of name-calling from some people, but at the end of the day, I have to worry about myself and my happiness here. For the first time in over a year, I have been happy for 4 days. I know that this isn't the end, that we are still going to have hurdles to overcome. I honestly believe that this was a wake-up call for her. If not, then why go through all of the emotional drama and turmoil? Wouldn't she just let it go? Bottom line is, I love her. I have always loved her, and all I wanted was for her to show me she loved me as well. This past weekend was a really bonding experience for me and for her as well. I think we can build something new together.